Welcome back, everyone, to another delicious episode of Podlish. I'm your host, Max.
And I'm Emma. Today, we're diving into the wonderful world of food, everything from our favorite dishes to some cooking secrets you won't want to miss.
But before we dig in, let me ask you this. Have you ever tasted a dish that completely blew your mind? The kind of meal that made you want to jump into the kitchen and recreate it immediately? If so, you're in the right place. We've got some incredible food stories and cooking hacks coming your way that will make you rethink your next meal.
You definitely don't want to miss this. So, let's kick things off. Max, what's your absolute favorite food? If you could only eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Emma, favorite foods and first cooking experiences. That's an easy one, pizza. I mean, who doesn't love pizza? You can customize it in so many ways. What about you?
Oh, pizza is great, but for me, it has to be tacos. You can fill them with anything: meat, veggies, even breakfast ingredients. It's like a flavor explosion in every bite.
Tacos are versatile. I'll give you that. Now, here's a question. What was the first dish you ever cooked that made you fall in love with cooking?
I'd say it was spaghetti bolognese. I was around 12, and it was a total disaster. I burnt the onions and oversalted the sauce. But I loved the process and the satisfaction of creating something from scratch, even if it didn't turn out perfectly.
I totally get that. My first cooking experience was trying to make pancakes. I didn't read the recipe properly and ended up with a lumpy mess. But hey, I eventually nailed it. The key is not to overmix the batter. Cooking secrets and hacks. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. What's one cooking hack that changed everything for you? The biggest game changer for me was learning to let meat rest after cooking. If you cut into it right away, all the juices run out, and it ends up dry. Resting it for a few minutes makes it so much juicier.
I've definitely made that mistake. I'll remember that. What about sauces? I feel like a good sauce can make or break a dish.
Absolutely. Always save some pasta water when cooking. The starch helps bind the sauce to the pasta and makes it creamy. It's such a small detail but makes a huge difference.
That's brilliant. I've seen chefs do that on cooking shows, but I never understood why.
And one more tip, toast your spices before adding them to your dish. It brings out the oils and enhances the flavor. Just a minute or two in a dry pan, and you'll be amazed at the difference.
I need to try that.
Exploring global cuisines. You know what I love about food? Every culture has its own unique take. What's the most interesting cuisine you've tried?
I'd have to say Ethiopian food. You eat with your hands using a flatbread called injera to scoop up the food. The flavors are incredible.
I've heard amazing things about it. I want to try that lentil stew. Missouri what? What about you? What cuisine are you dying to explore?
I really want to dive into traditional Japanese ramen. Not the instant stuff, but the real, rich broth with fresh noodles and that perfect soft-boiled egg.
Ramen is an art form. It's fascinating how food can tell a story about culture and tradition. Quick meals versus gourmet cooking. Okay, let's talk about quick meals. What's your go-to dish when you're in a rush? Stir fry. It's quick, healthy, and you can toss in whatever veggies you have lying around. It's all about that sauce.
Same, but when I'm feeling lazy, I usually whip up a quesadilla. Just cheese and whatever leftovers I can find. It's cheesy goodness in minutes.
You can't go wrong with a quesadilla, and if you add some guacamole, game changer.
Right? Speaking of guacamole, I still can't get over how people can make it taste so different. What's your secret?
It's all in the lime juice and fresh cilantro, and don't forget to add a pinch of salt to bring out all the flavors. Food memories and future culinary adventures. You know, food has a way of creating memories. What's a dish that brings back special memories for you? Definitely my grandma's lasagna. She made it every Sunday, and the smell of that sauce simmering would fill the house. I can still picture us all gathered around the table, laughing and eating.
That sounds so warm and inviting. For me, it's my mom's chocolate chip cookies. The smell would fill the house, and we'd always fight over who got to lick the spoon.
Classic. Those memories are priceless. What's one dish you want to learn how to make next?
I really want to master homemade sushi. It looks so impressive, and I love how fresh and flavorful it is.
Great choice. and I want to tackle homemade croissants. It's a long process, but I'm determined to get that flaky, buttery perfection.
All right, food lovers, we hope you enjoyed this delicious conversation as much as we did. If you've got any food hacks or favorite dishes, drop them in the comments below.
Let's dive into food trends. I've been noticing some really interesting ones popping up lately. For example, the rise of plant-based diets. What do you think about that?
I love it. There's so much creativity in plant-based cooking now. When I first heard about it, I thought it would just be salads and tofu. But people are making incredible dishes that are not just healthy but also packed with flavor.
Exactly. I tried a plant-based burger recently, and I couldn't believe how good it was. The texture was spot on, and the flavor was just amazing.
Did you try any special sauces with it? I find that the right sauce can make a world of difference.
Oh, for sure. It had a smoky chipotle mayo that added a nice kick. Speaking of sauces, I've been experimenting with homemade marinades lately. It's incredible how a simple marinade can transform chicken or tofu into something special.
Tell me more. What's your go-to marinade?
I love a mix of olive oil, soy sauce, garlic, and a splash of lime juice. It's simple but effective. I marinated some chicken overnight, grilled it, and it was bursting with flavor.
That sounds delicious. I need to try that. What about you? Have you experimented with any new dishes recently?
I actually tried my hand at making homemade dim sum last weekend. It was a bit of a challenge, but so worth it.
Wow, how did that go? I can only imagine how intricate that must be.
It was definitely a labor of love. I made shrimp dumplings, and the dough was tricky to work with. But once I got the hang of it, I felt like a pro. The best part? Steaming them and seeing them turn translucent.
Did you make any dipping sauces to go with them?
Yes, I whipped up a simple soy vinegar dipping sauce. It complemented the dumplings perfectly. Speaking of cooking and culture, I've been thinking about comfort foods lately. They're often tied to our childhoods and memories. What's your ultimate comfort food? Definitely mac and cheese. There's something so nostalgic about it. My mom made it from scratch with real cheese, and it was always my favorite dinner.
Classic choice. For me, it has to be chicken pot pie. My grandmother made the best pot pie with a flaky crust and hearty filling. Every bite feels like a hug.
Food really does have a way of making us feel cozy and safe. I think that's why we often gravitate toward those dishes in tough times.
Absolutely. It's like food is a comfort blanket. Speaking of which, what do you think about the trend of comfort foods being elevated now, like gourmet versions of classic dishes?
I think it's fascinating. It's like chefs are taking what we love and adding a twist to it, but I sometimes wonder if it can stray too far from the original comfort.
Totally. There's a fine line between elevated and overcomplicated. Sometimes, I just want a simple, classic dish without fancy frills.
Exactly. I appreciate creativity, but simplicity can be so satisfying.
So, let's talk about food around the world. If you could travel anywhere just for the food, where would you go?
I'd love to visit Thailand. The street food scene there is legendary. Pad Thai, mango sticky rice, and those amazing curries. It's a food lover's paradise.
Thailand is definitely on my list. I'm also super curious about Italian street food. There's something magical about enjoying a slice of pizza or a supply while walking around the streets of Rome.
That sounds perfect. Food is such an integral part of the culture, and experiencing it firsthand is incredible.
What about desserts? Are there any international sweets you dream about trying?
Oh, definitely. I want to try authentic baklava in Turkey. The layers of filo pastry with honey and nuts sound heavenly.
Yes, and I can't wait to try gelato in Italy. I've heard it's creamier and richer than regular ice cream.
It's a whole different ballgame, but then again, I'd love to dive into Japanese desserts like mochi and matcha flavored treats.
You know, I've often thought about participating in a cooking competition show. Would you ever do it?
Oh man, that would be nerve-wracking, but it could also be a lot of fun. I'd have to brush up on my time management, though.
Same, the pressure is intense, but I think it would be a great way to push yourself creatively. What show would you want to be on?
I think MasterChef would be an amazing experience. The challenges are tough, but the mentorship from those top chefs is invaluable.
I can see that. I'd love to try chopped. The mystery basket ingredients would really test my creativity.
But let's be real, if they gave me something bizarre like durian fruit, I'd be in trouble.
Right? But you'd find a way. That's the beauty of cooking. It pushes you to think outside the box.
Beyond just being tasty, food can be so therapeutic. Cooking has been a great outlet for me, especially during stressful times.
Absolutely. It's like therapy in the kitchen. Chopping vegetables, mixing ingredients, it's so grounding. And there's a real sense of accomplishment when you create something delicious.
Yes. Plus, sharing that food with others brings joy and connection. It's amazing how food can strengthen relationships.
Definitely. There's something special about gathering around the table to share a meal. It's a moment of togetherness that transcends everything else.
Food really does bring people together, and I love that it can start conversations and create memories.
Speaking of food bringing people together, what are your thoughts on sustainability in cooking?
It's incredibly important. Being mindful of where our food comes from can make a huge difference for the environment. I try to buy local produce whenever I can.
Me too. And reducing food waste is another big aspect of sustainability. I've started meal prepping to use up ingredients more efficiently.
Great idea. Plus, it saves time during the week. Have you seen those zero waste cooking videos? They're really inspiring.
Yes, they show how to use every part of an ingredient, like using vegetable scraps to make broth.
That's genius. And let's not forget about plant-based eating as a sustainable option. It's becoming more popular, and for good reason.
Exactly. It's not just about health, but also about making choices that benefit the planet.
Food is such an emotional experience. It can bring back memories, evoke feelings, and even change our moods.
Definitely. There's a reason why we often associate food with celebrations, holidays, and family gatherings. It marks special moments in our lives.
And it's fascinating how certain flavors can trigger nostalgia. For me, the smell of freshly baked bread instantly takes me back to my childhood.
For me, it's the smell of cinnamon. My mom would always bake cinnamon rolls on weekends, and that smell still makes me feel at home.
Trends to watch. Looking ahead, what food trends do you think will shape the culinary landscape in the next few years?
I think we'll see more focus on health-conscious eating, like low-carb or keto-friendly options becoming even more mainstream.
True, and I'm excited about the rise of fermented foods. They're not only delicious but also great for gut health.
Yes, and I think we'll also see a push for more global flavors in everyday cooking. People are becoming more adventurous with their palates.
Absolutely, the world is becoming a smaller place, and we're more open to trying new cuisines. Sharing recipes.
Speaking of adventurous cooking, let's share a few easy recipes with our listeners. What's a simple dish you'd recommend for someone trying to experiment in the kitchen?
I'd suggest a basic stir fry. Just grab your favorite protein, toss in whatever vegetables you have, and whip up a quick sauce with soy sauce, ginger, and garlic.
That sounds perfect. I'd recommend trying a smoothie bowl. It's super easy, delicious, and you can get creative with toppings like fruits, granola, and nuts.
Great choice! And don't forget about the importance of presentation, sometimes a little garnish can elevate the dish. Food memories and future culinary adventures.
Food has such a way of connecting us to memories. What dish brings back a special memory for you?
Definitely my grandmother's roast chicken. Every Sunday, we'd gather for family dinner, and her roast chicken was the star.
That sounds lovely. For me, it's my mom's chili. She'd make it every fall, and the smell of it cooking still brings back warm memories of family gatherings.
Those memories are so special. Food is not just about sustenance, it's about sharing moments and creating bonds. Looking to the future.
So, Max, if you could take a culinary trip anywhere in the world right now, where would it be?
Oh, it has to be Japan. I want to experience authentic sushi making and learn about the art of kaiseki dining.
Yes, I've heard so much about the artistry behind it. For me, I'd love to explore the markets of Morocco and learn how to make tagines.
That sounds amazing. The spices and flavors of Moroccan cuisine are so vibrant. Conclusion and call to action.
Well, everyone, We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of food. If you've got any culinary experiences or favorite dishes, we'd love to hear about them in the comments.
And don't forget to subscribe to Podlish for more food adventures and tips. Thanks for tuning in today.
Happy cooking, everyone!